I'm Jen.
And we're SpielMill.
Welcome to another episode of our Shelf of Shameful Opportunity as we work through our very big stack of unplayed games.
That's right. And this time we have 7 games for you. Some of the coverage of some will be quicker than others. So it won't be, I don't think, even though it's more games than we usually do, I don't think it'll be much longer. Yeah. If longer at all.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, our first game is a flip and write game that we played on our small board game table, and that is Fliptown.
Yes. I really liked this one. I think I might have liked it even more than you. I'm not sure. I know you liked it.
I liked it, yeah.
I really, really liked it. I thought it was really interesting. It uses just a standard deck of cards. I mean, it comes with its own deck of cards. It's all themed and whatnot, but it's 2 through 8. And
yeah, it's a deck of cards. So.
Yeah, but it's a standard verb and write where you have little areas around your sheet, which you're filling in based on the cards that come out.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting because it's a Western theme, which doesn't appeal to me at all. But it worked for me in this game. Yeah. And I never tried Western Legends or, because I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this.
I did too. Part of it's probably because it is a short, quick verb and write. It's not meant to be immersive, so it doesn't matter whether the theme hits with us or not. I thought the mechanism is you draw 3 cards. You use the suit on one card to determine where you're going to go. Yep. And then you use a number on one of the other cards to determine what you get to do there. And then the third card is part of your poker hand. And you mark down the number and the suit. And after 5 rounds, you are going to score that as well. And I thought that actually opened up some really interesting decision space in what is essentially just, pretty simple, standard verb and write.
Yeah, and it's a flip and write, which I have to say is one of my favorite types of verb and writes.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know why, but I enjoy it more than a roll and write per se.
I think part of it is there's a standard frequency.
Maybe.
In a flip and write, all the cards that are on the deck, whereas roll and writes, it could be anything.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but I like a lot of flip and writes quite a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun with this. It's a pretty standard roll and write in a lot of ways. It's got like 4 different sections of the board that your dry erase board, and you can, if you have like a diamond card, you can do it in the mine, or if you can work in the mine was one of the sections, or if you had a club, you can go to the town and do one of the buildings, and the buildings would give you, so the mine would give you a lot of gold. The buildings would give you like powers. There's a Badlands where you can break the law, but you get a lot of wanted, and that's bad. And then there's like a trail that you can go down.
Yeah, and it has that, like you said, you can get some wanted posters. You're wanted because you've done something bad, and then the sheriff is going to be looking for you. So at the end of the round, there's also some potential bad luck or bad things that you've got to mitigate. Yep. So if you like this genre, I mean, I think this is a really good one to add to your collection.
Yeah, it's an excellent one. So I think a SpielMill approval over here.
Yeah. Well, that seals it.
Now I will say that it came with the Outskirts mini expansion.
The Outskirts are better though, because you don't have to worry about the wind or anything.
The Outskirts mini expansion did not add much to the game. It just slightly changed how the gold cards work, because there's a couple of gold cards. There was, however, something that did come with the game that I did like, and that was asymmetric character powers. Yes. And I liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, I always love asymmetric character powers. It's nice to have just a little bit of extra boost, and and also it gives you fun at the beginning of the game, trying to decide which one you're going to do, and it adds some variability as well.
We didn't get around to playing this solo, so we didn't get to test out the bots. It has a couple bots, cowbots, if you will, and for solo play. So I've seen other people who played it solo. So, I think I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty much the same game. So I'm pretty sure it'll work fine for solo, but I haven't played it. So
yeah.
Don't take my word for it.
I can't see how it wouldn't, because there's not a whole lot of aggressive player interaction that you need to worry about.
No, there's barely any. It's kind of, it's like Welcome To or something like that.
Yeah. At most, like, you might get the lesser points on a goal if you finish it second, but it's not like it closes out the goal for you even.
Right.
So, yeah.
So anyway, that's Fliptown. And on to our next game. Our next game is a big one that we enjoyed quite a bit, I think. And that is Granja.
I love this game. I love this game. I am pretty certain this is going to be in my top 20 of all time.
Yeah.
I've got to run the numbers. I might be wrong.
I was just thinking about that. I was thinking it would be for you for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it could be top 50, but I really think it's going to hit the top 20.
And we'll talk about this, but I think with the modules added in that we played, it could potentially get up there for me too. It's definitely top 50 material. I don't know exactly where.
Yeah, I don't even need the modules. So there's a couple things that make this game really fun, really clever. First of all, these cards. You've got these multi-use cards. The Brothers Murph has talked about this game forever and has talked a lot about these cards, which is kind of how we got really excited about it. So good job, Brothers Murph. And the cards, you can either slip them to your left of your board, and then there are fields where you get goods every income round, to the right of your board, and that'll give you either a place to breed pigs or money income, or an ability to deliver more goods. You can slip it at the bottom of your board, and then it's got a special power that you have throughout the game, or you can put it at the top of your board where you can deliver goods to it, sort of like a market stall. So that's one thing that's really amazing about it. The second thing I think is that the dice. So the actions, it's not a worker placement. It's not even a dice placement. You roll the dice and you put them in sort of like a stall on the board, and that determines what action is available. And then you take turns sort of drafting those dice, and you get to do the action that's in that spot.
Yeah, those are the two major elements. There's a siesta track. You move up and down. It determines first player each round, which can rotate throughout the game. So that's kind of interesting. And it gives you some points. Yeah,
and you're delivering goods to either the main board or to your market stalls, and that's how you score your victory points. The other thing that I thought was cool.
Well, if you deliver to the main board, you finish off these craft buildings, which give you additional powers.
Yes.
Which is pretty neat.
Additional powers, additional points. I mean, it's ching, 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 ching. The other thing that I thought was really neat, it's a very small thing, but I loved it, is that you can use victory points to activate special powers. In a lot of cases, and that's rare, right? So even though it's a little tight on money, and it's maybe even, you want your victory points to win, but it gives you another sort of type of currency to use in the game. So you can sort of spread out how you're using your resources. Are you using your field goods to pay for things? Are you using your victory points? Are you using your money? You're not like hitting any one bank too hard.
Yeah, it's interesting because on your cards, one of the things you do is you play them to the right of the board, which Jen mentioned, and they're called farm expansions, but it costs you goods, unique goods, and you can do a point and a coin, a point and a farm good. Depending on how many cards you have, that's how much you pay.
Yeah, and the first game, my special powers were activated with points. Yeah. So, I mean, it just, so good. Like Jane said, I didn't even need the expansions to make this game hit for me. And it's weird because your main thing you said, and you can talk about this in a minute, I'm gonna gush, I'm sorry, is that you wanted it to be longer.
Yeah, right? It's a game that I think is deep enough that I want it to be a little bit more immersive and a little bit longer.
I am always the one that wants a game to be longer. I never want it to be over. I always want to add a round. If we house rules, a lot of times it's like, well, let's go an extra round. Let's not end this. And even despite all that, I still love this game. I didn't get to the end and think, I mean, I certainly, of course, would love more turns, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I just need a couple more turns. I love this game so much.
Yeah, this is a really rich game. If you like farming games, it's right in that niche. And if you like clever card play, clever resource management, this is really in your zone. I do want to talk about the modules. The first module we played didn't do much for the game. And that added a couple cards that you could deliver to. But in a two-player game, we already have enough places to deliver to. And then it ended up being not that great a two-player game.
It kind of tanked your game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even use it in our second game that we had it out. And we played like 4 or 5 times, but we played with the modules a couple times. But the second module was pretty good. That added the broken roofs. So that's one thing you do is you build these roofs on your buildings, which is pretty fun. But the third module that we played, I think it was the third or fourth maybe, it was because there were a couple small ones. was this building module that added these buildings, and my God, did they make it. First of all, you may not be into it if you're not in the complex games. I think La Granja as this base game is not that complex. A little bit, but it's not too bad. It's like a mid-weight game, I'd say. With the buildings module and everything, it got pretty heavy in terms of like brain power and stuff like that. It was a little brain burning, but it was great.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
I really liked it too. I don't know that it needs it, but you know, I'll play it. And we have a bunch more modules that we haven't even tried. That's the great thing too, is that there's a lot of extra stuff. We have the new deluxe version. If you don't have it and you're looking to get it, I would go for that big one with all the modules, because there's just a lot of room to play in there, and it's such a fantastic game.
I want to say we played with 4 modules, and
I think that's right.
There might be like 12. I'm not sure exact number, but something like that. So
yeah,
or 10 or something.
And I think
there's more than we didn't get quite halfway through them.
We'll probably have to play through them and kind of decide what we like, what we don't like. You know, anytime there's a bunch of modules, usually there's at least 1 or 2 we don't want, we don't play with. But we got to figure that out, and that's half the fun.
But we did decide it was time to move on. We'll break it back out again in a few months after we're trying to rotate through games pretty good so we can get through our collection. But that's La Granja. What a great game.
So good.
Yeah, we're fans.
All right, so next is our campaign game. So if you've seen our table video, if you haven't, go watch it. We've got 5 game tables where we have different kinds of games set up. So we always have a campaign game going. And right now we're playing through My Island. Right.
And as of filming, and maybe by the time this is published, it might be done, but as of filming, we're 15 games through a 24-game campaign. So we're pretty far in, and we can talk about it. But we're going to obviously try to avoid spoilers or anything like that, because it is a legacy game, so we don't want to spoil any aspects of it.
Yeah.
So there may not be a lot of B-roll, so sorry about that.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. It's a light campaign game. It's a great intro. It's a great way to get family and friends kind of into the idea of campaign games. It's super accessible, I think. And of course, it sort of ramps up the complexity as you go. Starts out pretty easy and works its way up, which I think makes it a really great game to share.
Yeah, the only complaint I've had so far, it's been really fun. If you played My City, it's basically more My City, but slightly different polyomino type play. It's hexagon stuff. But is the rules have sometimes left some gaps. And as a result, we've been like, huh? We were supposed to do that?
Yeah.
So that's happened a couple times, and that's a little unfortunate.
And it's probably because of the rules, but sometimes it seems like there's not quite enough stickers for what we think we're supposed to do based on the rules. So
right. So either we're doing it wrong, and some of it could be us. So I think yesterday, for example, we had some issues. I think partially it was me because I was tired. So I was doing the rules.
I don't blame Jane.
But yeah, I think the rules could have been cleaner.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yep, I agree. But in general, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know. It's been a while since our original playthrough of My City. And we've done the one online. We played it online with folks. I think I like My Island better so far.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. So
it's pretty close though.
The one thing it's missing is the novelty factor. When I played My City, it was the first time through. It had a novelty factor. It was awesome. And I think My Island is better, but I think the novelty factor isn't there as well. So it's a little bit of a mixed match.
Yeah.
But, max min. So, but it's really fun. It's, it's just like My City in a lot of ways. I think some of the episodal changes so far. We're 15 episodes in, remember, out of 24. So we still haven't seen some, I think, are better designed than My City was. I think My City had some increments that were a little like, But I think like these are all pretty much interesting all the way. Yeah. Each chapter is unique and stands out in ways that make sense. And like My City had that, I don't want to spoil My City either, so never mind.
Yeah, that's all we'll say. That's all I'll say. Anything else I could say would really get us into the weeds of the actual mechanics of the game. So we'll just leave it at that and move on to the next one.
So the next game is a game that's a remake of a remake, right? Because it's based on a fan-made game, Gloomhaven, which was based on Gloomhaven. It's Gloomhaven, and this is based on that. So it's Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs.
Yeah.
So, and this is a miniature Gloomhaven game, and
solo only.
Solo only, right? And what's interesting to me is how many rules it carries over from Gloomhaven. I really like it, but it does carry over a lot of rules from Gloomhaven. So, like, someone asked us, would it be a good entry point game? And I'm not sure that it would be, because it does carry over so many rules from Gloomhaven. And I'm not sure it's as intuitive learning it in this game as it would be in playing, let's say, Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah, I'd go with Jaws of the Lion for an intro, actually. And as you pointed out, so Jane is the game teacher. I do not do well just reading straight rules by myself, so Jane taught me the game. And you were telling me that actually not even all the rules are in the book. You have to go online.
Yeah, that was a huge attraction. The rule book is online. There is a learn to play booklet in the book, which does teach you most of what you need to get going, especially if you've already played Gloomhaven. But I think if you were new to Gloomhaven, you might struggle a little bit with that beginning. But so there's a bit of a on how the rules are handled.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I get it. The box is really small, and it probably would be hard to get all the rules in there. But it's still, it's just sort of like an accessibility question.
That's what it reminds me of. Jordan Draper did this game called Metal, where they wanted all the components to be metal. So they didn't include rules in the game because they didn't want paper in the game.
They etch it on the back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not the best way to go. So anyway, what I do want to say about this, I do enjoy it. It's really, if you like Gloomhaven, it is fun. It's got the clever card play. The top, you play 2 cards. You play the top of one and the bottom of the other. You have to fight for initiative against the enemies, and it does a good job of adjusting how the enemies are controlled by adding a dice system. The dice system simplifies it a little bit.
Yep.
And it lessens the amount of components you would need. Which is important, obviously.
It's still tricky. I mean, I haven't played as many games as you have. I've only had 2 plays, so
I've only played 3 or 4.
Experience is limited. But I won the first game, but did I lose the second one in spectacular fashion.
Yeah.
I went out real fast. So
I lost my first game because I ran out of cards so fast. I was shocked. I was a little blown away because you only have 4 card hand though, and only a 4 card hand means you cycle through so fast. You're like, oh, I'm out of cards.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they do flip over. So essentially there's 8 cards, but when you lose one card, you're losing 2 cards. Yeah. So, I think I even did it wrong on the second game. I don't think I even short rested.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to do a short rest or a long rest and you lose a card. And
no, I did it right. Yeah.
And the problem is that once you lose 2 cards, you're down to 2 cards. You pretty much, you play your 2 cards, you flip them over, you play them again, and then you have to short rest and your game is over.
Yeah, so it's quick. But it's also really well done and really clever in the way that the items are listed on the scenario cards. The scenario cards have like the writing on the back, the map on the front. You flip it over, you read it, you flip it over, you play your thing. When you win, you get that card into your hand, and it's got 2 different items that you can later equip. So the economy of space and materials in this game is really interesting, and I'm kind of enjoying kind of experiencing that and playing through that.
A couple quick thoughts on this. I do think that you should sleeve it. We don't sleeve a lot of games, but number one, the scenario cards get all bent, and that's a little annoying when you're trying to move miniatures and little cubes on them. So sleeving them helps with that. But also shuffling 4 cards, if you've ever shuffled 4 cards, which you have to do when you're doing a short rest, is not fun, and it can beat up your cards pretty fast. So if you sleeve your character cards, that's really valuable. You cannot sleeve everything though, so note that you don't want to sleeve. There's certain cards that slide, like the monster cards slide into slots. They can't be sleeved or they won't fit. So just something to know for you sleevers out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Buttons and Bugs.
Buttons and Bugs.
Gloomhaven, Buttons and Bugs.
What did I keep calling it? Bugs and...
I don't know.
Bugs and Bites. That's what I was calling it.
Bugs and Bites. Oh, sounds like a menu item.
In a previous video, somebody made fun of me. It was fun. Good times were had. All right, so our next game up is a pretty interesting 2-player trick-taking game called Sail.
Yes.
And Sail was really fun.
It was really fun.
I really enjoyed it.
It is, it's a cooperative trick-taking game. Just really enjoying the trick-taking renaissance. To quote Mike DeLisio. But I do...
We don't play that many trick takers.
We don't, but I do like them. It goes back to my roots, playing pinochle with my family. So I do like the trick taking. But this is actually really cool because there's a central board and there's a boat on it, and there's a kraken and there's islands, and you move the boat up the board by winning tricks. So whoever wins a trick, the boat goes sort of diagonally towards them, and it zigzags up the board.
I'll say this. So we didn't love Cat in the Box too much, which also had like a central board that you kind of did things on.
Yeah.
And I just find the boat moving through much more interesting than the little area control game in Cat in the Box.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this is cooperative too.
It's cooperative.
And it's tricky because you're trying to match up not only the number and the suit, so the suit being the color of the card, but there's little symbols on them as well. So you could have a steering wheel or a captain's wheel, 2 captain's wheels, and you're good to go. Somebody wins a trick and you just move it. You know, a captain's wheel and a kraken arm plus a captain's wheel, and you do damage to your boat. Mermaid tails, 2 mermaid tails, which are 9s, and you move forward and trying to like kind of figure out, okay, cooperatively without talking about it, how we're going to feed the kraken, right? How we're going to damage the kraken so we can not die and move when we need to move, and hopefully get 2 mermaids tails out at the same time is tricky.
Yeah,
what a puzzle.
Another tricky element is a really popular trick-taking technique is to bleed the other player out of a suit. And you can do that in this game, but it is tricky because once you win 4 tricks in a round, your round ends. So it's really tricky to bleed somebody out and do it in time to do what you want to do, and then like to get played 2 9s, for example. 9's the high card, and so to play 2 9s, one way to do is to bleed somebody out of a suit. And
or you can do what I did yesterday, and I bled myself out of the wrong suit. I don't know what I was thinking. But I really liked this game. I think this game will get a lot of wear. This is another one he should sleeve the cards in. They're already getting beat up because you're after 4 tricks, after it was
we
really
gotta sleeve it. We didn't sleeve it yet, but we should.
After 6 or 7 tricks, you're shuffling the deck again, and you're doing that over and over again just in one game. And this is the type of game you could play, a fair amount of. It's probably not as quick and snappy as something like Scout. It's probably 20 minutes a game, but it's still like there's a lot of game in that little bit of time, and just I really love that creative.
Yeah, and I like this game has good tough choices, and it does. That's a really good thing. That's a good thing in a game. So.
It is. Yeah, this is, again, if you're looking for a 2-player game, if you like those trick takers, if you like cooperative games, this is a great game for you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that's Sail.
Yep. So our next game up would be one that was on our mini game table. So we have, this is our 5th game table, is we have a micro game table, and we've taken all of our button shy down there, and then our pack of games. And so we recently played one of the new ones from the new,
Pack-O
Games, right? I was going to call it season, but whatever.
And these are the size of a pack of gum. That's how small they are.
Yeah, and we have there's some really good ones that we love. So we played Far. And Far is, I would say, kind of similar to a King Domino in that your cards have different types of terrain on them, and you're trying to create a terrain of a particular type, and, you score the number of cards it is. But it's got some tricks to it.
Yeah, it's got some tricks to it. It does not play like King Domino, which I like.
Yeah.
It does not play like King Domino. It's got one of the things about it though that we so you have some creative choices like you can use each other's fields. So you're going to score your top 4. There's 4 different terrain types, and you're going to score your biggest region of each type. However, Jen can sit over there building a terrain type up. But if I can see it, as in it has a direct line to me without hitting another card, I can score it as well. So she has to think, oh, I should cut that off. Oh, and I want to think, oh, I want to make sure I get in on that.
Yeah. So, and the only way you can score is, as Jane said, is if it has a direct line to you. So if another card gets in the way, you can't score it, right? So you really could mess with somebody's game. Like there's nothing to stop you from cutting off somebody else's terrain. We don't play like that. So it probably removes an element of the game. It makes it a little bit easier than it would be otherwise, because we don't play like that.
It's just not our style. It's a little mean. I think if played to its full potential, it's mean.
Yeah.
So,
and we definitely don't play that way. The last thing is you have a king and a queen in your hand, and they're on a type of terrain. When you put them, when you attach them to a terrain, you score that terrain again for that king and the queen, and they add a tile. So you could score your largest one twice if you put your queen down, for example, is on the bricks.
Right.
If you put your queen on the bricks, and it's your largest terrain, you could score it twice, which could be a really big score. But again, if I leave it open up top, Jane can come in and get the same terrain, and then I've lost any advantage I have.
And there's a +1 if your king's in the terrain, and +1 if your queen's in the terrain, etc.
So it's really a clever game in a very little box. Again, doing a lot with very little resources there.
It's enjoyable. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So
yeah, it's a great game for traveling too. If you want to take games to a pub, or if you want to travel and play games in a hotel, this is the type of game that is really easy to bring along.
Yeah, no, it's a pack of gum size, so it definitely works in that regard.
Yeah.
All right, so that is FAR, and I checked these games out because the pack of games are fun. Most of them. Not all of them are hits, but you know, as it is with these things. So the last game we want to talk about, we really only played once, but I think we got enough appeal for it to just talk about it briefly. And this is a sort of a party game from Jordan Draper called Praise.
Oh, Jordan Draper got 2 mentions today.
Oh, he
How
did.
about that?
The metal game.
Yeah.
So Praise is a game where you get you basically have cards. You have an honesty card and you have some fake praise cards, and you mix them together. And in more players, you're supposed to pass them around. In a 2-player, you mix them up and pick one at random. And then you have an emotion card that you get. So you have to, and your idea is to praise. You're supposed to praise the judge. So it has a judge like Apples to Apples or something. You're supposed to praise the judge, and they're supposed to guess whether it was an honest praise from the honest, based on something from, you know, that, or if that's real, that you made up, that's real, or fake praise, that would be off of the card that you got. But again, you're trying to make it sound real. So you're trying to make it, if you have fake praise and the card says to praise their organization skills, you're going to say something about their organization skills that's based on their real life, right?
And I'm going to know it's a lie. And you roll a die, which tells you which number to do too. So you can't pick like, okay, that's the most believable one.
Right.
You have to give the compliment that it tells you to give.
Right. So, we played a 2-player. This is really a game that's going to be better with more. But I actually kind of enjoyed it.
I did too.
First of all, I like the fact that the premise of this game, even if it's a fake praise, you're just praising each other. It's a very positive game.
Yeah, it really is.
So, I mean, I guess you could twist it to negative somehow, but I think if you're playing it right, it's going to be very positive. It's going to make you feel good.
Yeah. We have a group of friends that I think are going to really like this. They're going to get into it. They're going to get into the fake praises. They're going to get into the emotions of it. They're going to get into the real praises. Like this, I think, is going to be a real fun party game for our group of friends.
Yeah, I think it'll work well. So we're excited to break it out with a larger group. So we only want to talk about it briefly because we only played it once with 2. But I think with 2 players, it's not enough fun that we're going to break it out.
Yeah.
Again, probably ever. But we'll break it out for larger groups.
For sure.
So that's it. That's our shelf of shameful responsibility. That's something else.
Let's not talk about that.
Shameful opportunity. And so that's 7 new games that we've got to the table. We got a bunch of new games on the table. Check out our On the Table video where we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And maybe we'll get even a few extra in because we did this week too. So we're loving the 5 game tables. It's letting us go through our unplayed games really quickly. So let us know in the comments if you've played any of these games or what you've gotten off your shelf of shameful opportunity lately.
And remember,
Every day that you game
is a holiday.